Okay, this is something of an experiment. We're going to try and do a YouTube live. We'll have to see how it goes. Right. What we're going to do is we're going to work through correcting a pull request or doing a pull request to fix a piece of open source software. So we've got this testinfra. Now, on yesterday's stream, which was on Twitch rather than on YouTube, I came across a problem where the SOP backend was producing an error. And after a little bit of investigation, found this issue, 398, had already been raised. It's a very similar problem, and in actual fact, the problem, the root of the problem, is the same. Now, this is a pull request that was already submitted, but it was kind of the wrong way around. The way this person had fixed it, they had made changes, so we can actually see the changes they made. They've made changes to the two files, the backend base and this socket pi, and they kind of caught the error after the fact. So the error was that the SOP backend was invoking the local client to send commands to minions, which is great, but when it returned, it was returning raw string data rather than byte data. And this piece of code here in the backend base class was expecting it to be byte data, and then it would decode it into string data. The problem is if you return string data, then it's got no decode method, and it throws a problem. So the solution this person suggested was to look for an attribute error, the attribute error being kicked off because it hasn't got the decode attribute, and just return the raw data. That's wrong for a couple of reasons. First of all, this data could be any arbitrary type, and therefore you're just making the problem worse downstream if that data doesn't have a decode method. Secondly, you could get this attribute error for a whole host of reasons, not just because it doesn't, because it's not byte data. Thirdly, you're catching the problem, not solving the problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the job, hopefully, properly. Now, the author of infra test has actually suggested what the solution is. Smug Mark had already worked this out, but it's useful to know that this is what the author is suggesting. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the fix properly, in inverted commas. So the first thing we need to do is we need to fork this repository. Oops, they're not on GitLab, but on GitHub. Okay, so this is my Salty Vagrant account, so that's good. What we want to do is we want to fork this testinfra repository. Okay, so we're forking that. Okay, so now we've got the Salty Vagrant testinfra, which will allow us then to get a local copy. Now, to do this work, I'm going to create, I'm actually going to do it in my projects folder. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new project, which is going to be based on my development environment, which I've been creating as part of a course on doing this sort of thing. So for that, we are going to need to go to GitLab. And in here, we've got this developer VM project. Okay, and this developer VM project contains the basic setup. Now, fortunately, the basic setup is for a Python development environment. So if I just clone that, but instead of putting it into developer VM, we'll call this testinfra dev. Okay, so we're now going to testinfra dev. Okay, we've now got a vagrant file and various provisioning files which will set up our Python environment. So if I do vagrant up, hopefully it will set up a virtual machine, which is a Debian-based box, and it will install Python and get it all set up for us. Now, while that's cooking in the background, let's take a look at this testinfra. Now, there are a couple of things we need to be aware of. First of all, what I want to know is, are there any special rules they want me to follow? So here we go. Pull request trigger automatic tests. You're creating a full development environment, and to add tests and check all the tests pass before submitting. Cool. You must install Docker and Tox. Okay. To run all the tests, run Tox. To run only some selected tests. Okay, fair enough. The code must pass without errors under Flake 8 with the extension hacking. Okay, I can live with all of that. So we'll set that up in a minute once this has all been set up. So that's just an extra bit of work. Let's have a look at the test suite. Now then, there's test backends. Here we go. Does it? That's an Ansible test. The reason for looking this up is if it does a salt test, which I doubt it does, but if it does, then obviously we'll want to update that so we get the failing test properly. And if it doesn't, you see it does all the SSH tests. Now, the reason it doesn't do this, I suspect, is because it would require setting up a completely new Docker instance. So you can see here we've got right. So I've got plenty of Ansible tests. That doesn't seem to do any salt tests. Let's just do a search for salt and see whether there's anything. Okay, so we've got 5 hits. There we go. What have we got? That's not very exciting, is it? Remove quote log string. Okay, that's not a very. Okay, well, that's not really related to salt. That's just an arbitrary string, as far as we're concerned. Right. Now the question is, do we go to the trouble of extending this to do salt tests, or do we make that a completely separate issue? I think, yeah, so it looks to me like these are what it's testing. So technically, I mean, we could extend this, but it's quite a big job actually to add salt tests. We will set up a salt system. That much we do need to do. I mean, to be perfectly honest, running these tests is kind of irrelevant, but it's worth doing because it means we can confirm that our original setup at least meets the requirements. Yeah, okay. I mean, we're going to run the tests anyway. So we're going to install the development version, which will be this, but we'll replace obviously their that's just getting the bleeding edge. Okay, we'll work our way through this. Over here, we're now into the Python setup. And what's the Docker setup? Presumably, right. So it's making extensive use of Ansible, but we got build Docker container fixture. There we go. Okay. Oh. Okay. Let's take this one step at a time, shall we? Now that's going to install the test version, but okay, there doesn't seem to be any special anything special about installing it. So pip install development. I noticed the minus E flag, but might as well. I assume we're safe to use the wheel because, okay. Good. Okay, we're all done. So, Vagrant up. So we need to install Docker and Tox. So, Debian Docker install. That should be straightforward. So we would have just done that. So okay. So oops, didn't mean to do that. Okay, let's do. Okay, so I'm going to do. And then we? So now we are just doing a double check. Okay, so we've got the key we expected. Okay, so and okay, so now we've got to install the Docker engine. So let's get update to get everything from that new repository. Then we've got to install a few Docker bits and bobs. A specific version of the Docker engine, and we might as well run that check. Docker run hello world. The other thing we'll need is tox, which I believe we just install with pip. Yeah. Now, I don't know whether, I can't remember whether we've aliased pip across. Does pipenv change pip's alias? Seems YouTube is a bit more demanding. They recommend 4,500 kbs for a stream, and I'm averaging about 2,600, which is strange. Twitch never had this problem. Oh well. Right, let's Docker run hello world just to do a check. And ta-da! Okay, all looks good. So Docker's installed. Now then, but we do have pip3, don't we? Yeah, good. Okay, so pip3 install tox. So that's good. So we've got tox, we've got Python, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to set up our local projects. So right, so okay, so pip's alias done the vagrant because we've got our pyenv in there. However, what we're going to do now is clone that salty vagrant which I seem to have got rid of. So GitHub, test infra. So let's interesting. Only HTTPS. Now I'm gonna want my keys, aren't I? Okay. So I'm gonna want to use that, but I don't think it will have got my keys up. Yeah, I figured as much. So what I need to do now is okay, so go into the test infra. Okay, I want to do vagrant SCP, and I want to copy my SSH key for GitHub salty vagrant into vagrant. No, if I just do it into ID RSA, it should be picked up, shouldn't it? Good. Right. I can now close that. Don't think I need it anymore. Okay, so now we've got our test infra. Okay, so let's see. Let's see. Let's just try and run tox and see what happens. Oh, it's installing the flake8 dependencies there. What it hasn't done though is it hasn't run any of the tests because it failed spectacularly. Right, so check manifest Python 3.7. Imported before setup tools. This is discouraged and may exhibit undesirable behaviour. Well, that sucks. The Docker build's not working. Excellent. What? I didn't expect that to be debugging this shit. Cannot connect to the Docker daemon. Is Docker daemon running on this host? Well, it was a second ago. Well, of course you got denied because you're not a privileged user. So, if I remember correctly, yes. I think there's a Docker group that I have to add this user to, isn't there? Something like that. Docker run user account. And it's something like all of this assumes that you are the privileged user. Install Docker. Blah blah blah. There you go. So, Docker command can only be used by the root user or by using the Docker group, which is automatically created during Docker installation. Right. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to use a mod. G Docker, and it will be the vagrant user we want to do. Okay, so I exit there. Do I need to log out and log back in again? Oh, there it is. Cool. Okay, so well, at least that works. Right, so let's try toxic. That looks better, doesn't it? Right, so assuming this tops runs okay, that has already been done for us. I saw that flash past, and it's being done part of the tox, so hopefully this will work. I believe it's being done as part of this anyway. Presumably, once it's done all of this, and the Docker is set up, hello, that hardly looks welcoming, does it? We're still getting a problem. How tiresome. Right, so one or more Docker builds failed. Deprecation 2.7 reached end of life. Yep, we know that. Please upgrade path into 2.7 is no longer maintained. PIP 21 will drop support in January 2021. Blah 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 blah. So it's built on tag that. And then we get an invocation error when it tries to invoke PyTest. Exit with code 3. Not very helpful. One or more builds for, yeah, okay, but which one? I got a deprecation warning there. We've got loads of output here, but nothing to say the build failed. Well, it's not being very helpful, is it? the manifest has failed. Right, so that invocation failed. And then check manifest. Oh, okay. So what should be fairly straightforward is now turning into a dog's breakfast. So it's not entirely clear which Docker failed. We've basically got, it's only this one. Oh, Kenny, what a pain in the ass. So we've got the image. And then we get an error. Right, so we've got a whole load of images that have been created. But we've got one or more Docker build. Right. Okay, that's I don't know where to start. I mean, none of this seems to be a problem. We're getting the images built. Right. So there is. It's calling Docker build. It's evidently getting an exception. And that exception is that traceback there. So it's built and tag the Debian buster. And then we get that traceback, which is coming from PyTest configure, which is what we were just looking at. I'll tell you what, let's just rerun it and see whether it's just a transient problem. You know what, you're not making this any easier, no? Well, at least it failed quickly, so... I don't think that's got anything to do with the Docker builds failing. I think that's something else entirely. It's raising the error. It's raising that runtime error for other reasons. If the build failed is set, it's coming back from so it's either being set there or it's something to do with this. Right, so the build failed is either being set there or there. Now that blah blah blah, target image, blah blah blah, image path. So why? Okay, no, I get it now. Okay, so that build image is actually on the thread. So one of them is throwing an exception. Okay. If I do Docker images, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 images. Okay, and if I do images, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 images. So which one's missing? CentOS 6. So CentOS 6 is the problem. So if I do Docker build, just do Docker build, we'll tag it for the time being. Right, so what are we getting? Yum clean all, command yum clean all, blah 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 blah. Okay. That's step 1 of 5. Step 2 of 5. There we go. Returned a non-zero code. So the problem child is that command there, which is installing a load of crap and doing a keygen. And that's where the problem lies. So it's an error. Now it is possible certainly possible it's certainly possible that during the build we're running out of memory or something. Unfortunately, when you've got something that long, now then, what's the most likely culprit here? We've got the SSH daemon. How does this go? Still got plenty of disk space, so I don't think it's that. Oh, okay. It's possible. It's possible that we're just running out of some resource or other. I can't think of a reason why that would cause a particular problem. Let's do a diff between Dockerfile and CentOS 7 Dockerfile. And okay, so CentOS 7 is obviously using system D. So it's doing things somewhat differently. It's possible. I guess is there a V? No. Awesome. Dum. Right. Suppose I could. Oh, let's just do it the easy way. Let's do this. Copy the Docker file to dockerfile.org and then my Docker file. Okay, let's right. And so we're still getting a problem. Still getting a problem. Mind you, leaving that on there wouldn't help. Right. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Seems like a fairly interesting. Interaction. That's the command to run, but that should be overridden, shouldn't it? What's that 139? Gives with CentOS 6 then. Why is that giving me a hard time? Segmentation fault. Oh. Okay. Could it be because I'm running in Debian 10? Interesting. Ooh, that's exactly the problem. Yeah. Normal running now fails for CentOS 6 images on Debian testing. Well, bugger me. Yes, core linking 411 kernel. Try booting the kernel with. Oh, that's a bit of a bugger, isn't it? Okay, let's try it. Y/etc /default/grub and the command line Linux default. Can I leave quiet in it? And just add syscall equals emulate. Yes. Nah. Syscall equals emulate. Okay. And Not overly optimistic. It's running, but the SSH hasn't come up. So. Okay. Arse. That's a little bit upsetting, isn't it? Well, I've had this before. Oh, now I've got to dig through my brain and remember why. Oh, come on, Mark. I've been through this before with this grub colour, haven't I? That's right. Oh, when you do, yeah, at the moment, when you do the update, it updates grub and that screws the pooch. Which means that all that stuff I've just done will need to be done again, which is irritating. And I need to comment out the update. Sorry, the upgrade. The update's okay, it's the upgrade that's the problem. That causes the problem. And we've got to go through all of the installation again. Oh no. Not stressing you out, Kenny. I can tell by the way you're lounging. Yes. I know. Hugely stressful for you, isn't it? So we're going to go through it all again. And I suppose really what I should have done is done the job properly in the first place. Right, how long have we been going at this? Hour and 20 minutes. Cool, blimey. And it's not lunchtime, well, no dinner time. Nothing ever runs smoothly, does it, mate? However, we do have a couple of things that we need to do. Now, if I remember correctly, we've got to add the vagrant into the Docker group. We've got a few things to install. Maybe I'll add them to the provisioning script and rerun the provisioning script just in case. Yeah, good plan. Right, so what we're going to do when I come back is I'm going to repeat what I just did, but with commands in a provisioning script, which we will then rerun rather than logging into the box. So the tricky one is that grub command line, because we have to do that with a sed, and although I'm tempted, given we know what it's going to look like, we'll just do it with a search and replace, because we know it's just, yeah, we'll just do it with a search and replace. We're trying to be clever. Just look for the line that starts grub command line Linux default and just replace the whole line. Which we could do in a number of ways. Okay. Okay, Okay, so we're still building. Actually, right. I suppose I could actually, couldn't I? Yeah, let's do that. Right, so we've got a few things in here. We're not actually using poetry for this project. However, we want to, let me see, got to remember what we did. Oh, we've got to install Tox, which is a pip. So we're going to install developer tools, and now we it was just installing Tox in this context, wasn't it? But we also wanted to install oh, come on. So we installed Tox using pip and the context of vagrant. That's fine. There was something. Oh, Docker. Yes. Oh, blimey. Yeah, that's quite a big job, isn't it? Let's install Docker. Now then, there's quite a few things to be done to install Docker, isn't there? So let's install Docker. Right, so we needed to install a whole load of crap. Okay, we've gone a bit over, but we will. Okay, so there's that. Then we want to do that curl. Then we want to. No, we don't need to do that check. We'll just assume everything works. But we do want to add that repository. and we want to do the update, and then we want to do the install. Okay. Okay, so we want to, so that's Docker installed. We've installed Tox. Next. Actually, that changed the grub command line, which needs to be done in here. So, actually, we'll leave that for the moment, because that's very much an experiment. What else did we need to do? We need to copy this stuff up. Yeah, okay, we'll leave it like that. Okay, so not quite everything, because but this will hopefully at least install Docker and Tox. Not. Oh, that's interesting. Right. That's interesting. So what I need to do is add a check-in. Because of this. Why would that cause a problem? I mean, surely if it's already installed, we just get a thing saying it's already installed. Why would it choke? SSH command status, I suppose. All I really need to do is maybe not. Provision. It doesn't like. I can't return 0, can I? I know how to do it. Interesting. Oh, wait a minute. That's because I'm being a numpty. Yeah, that needs a correction to the vagrant file, doesn't it? Okay. Come on in. Here we go. Quickly. Coming up. Oh. You're being soft. There you go. Oh, what have we got now? What didn't I add? Oh. And once again, blah 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 blah. Install this. I'm assuming the set command is scope is block scoped. It might not be. Interesting. Set scope. Nope. Let's come up class inside your function because someone's using effect that should instantly exist directly from the function scope. This is no error trap in effect. Oh, I might need to change that. Let's do that now. Not that it really matters anymore. Now we're still expecting this to fail because we haven't patched the grub. So we need to do this patch. However, this has got a lot of installation stuff to do. And it will build everything except for core 6. So it looks to me like the stream is constantly complaining about not being great. So it could be I need to change my DNS. No, I'll look into that later. What is it? Go to streaming DNS. Don't care. Due to misconfigured DNS, sending the streams to a distant geographical location. Yeah, well, I mean, it's possible, but not likely. There we go. Right, now then. Right, so we're getting a problem again. Okay, so we've solved this problem before. Now we know one of the problems is image 6 is not working, but we had another problem, didn't we? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, I know what it was. Okay, right, we can kill two birds with one stone. So the first thing we need to do is edit this to include the syscall equals emulate and try that again. Leave syscall equals emulate. Okay, now then, the other thing we need to do is we need to add the user. So actually we'll do that in provisioning core. It's part of installing Docker. Okay, so we want to do mod user ag Docker vagrant. Okay, now I need to do two things. I need to do the reload, which hopefully will pick up the new grub, assuming that the pooch hasn't been royally screwed. Hopefully this will reload okay this time. Boom. Good. So now we can vagrant SSH. Now, current directory, testinfra, and tox. Oops. Let's try that again. Testinfra. Q and tox. Well, that's progress of a sort, I suppose. Was this user? Okay. User. Oh, that's because I haven't rerun the provisioner. Idiot. Okay, vagrant up. It's a rather long-winded way of just doing one command, but it does mean we can check. I suppose I could have done reload with a provision flag, I assume. I don't make much difference. That sucks. Mod user. I'm a fucking idiot. Okay. Alright. Brain is leaking out. Don't think I'm going to bother with that. Well, I may look into it later. Right, let's try that again, shall we? We'll take the precaution this time of just checking our groups first. secure. Right. Hurrah! Blushings of ginger beer all round. So the only thing now is, will Core OS 6 set up correctly? If it doesn't, all I'm going to do is just take it out temporarily because life's too short. And for the sake of solving that one problem, it seems a bit esoteric. That we've got this. Go away. Right, grub we fixed. Yeah, so we've got this one thing that may or may not solve the problem. That was been extant on Debian for a while. And the grub thing's a pain as well. Hello, what have we got here? No, looks like it's failed again. So that did not solve our problem. Try a manual build again, but frankly, I think life's too short, mate. I think we'll just skip it. This is a lot of work for a very tiny change, isn't it? Of course, we still haven't solved the manifest problem. weird is, why is any of the build under the manifest? Well. Okay, so we need to go into test and right, so all it does is loop over the contents of that images directory. So all we need to do is remove CentOS 6 and hopefully that will allow the tests to run. Can't remember if I've got D installed on here. I think I do. So, authoritative answer was from... My local names are there, naturally. Which will have got it probably from 111, I think. Now then, what I do want to do is just check. Oh no. Oh, halfway through the tests, all seems to be going swimmingly. Like I say, largely irrelevant to the change I actually want to make. But as a rule, whenever you're setting up an environment, first thing you want to do is run any tests that they have, make sure they all pass, because after you've made your change, you'd expect the same result. So if there's something foobar at this point, like that, right, okay, so we expect the CentOS 6 ones to not pass because we've just removed it. So as long as it's only CentOS 6 ones that produce an error, then we're good. Yeah, as I was saying, yeah, as long as you're reproducing the same set of errors or same set of passes, then you're good to go. Worth checking to make sure we're still getting the same error, I suppose. Basic bunch of shite of it. So it does at least appear. Cool. That's all I wanted to know. Right. Okay, well, I expected errors. I expected all of the tests which go to CentOS 6 to fail. However, looks like we've got some here in going to Debian Buster. Unknown mark warning. What? I test mark. Test infra hosts. Now, my guess is okay. That's all warnings. So I'm going to ignore those for now. We've got unexpected exit code 125 from command resort docker run blah blah blah. CentOS 6. Yes. Okay. There is an alternative. Yeah. Okay. So it's all CentOS 6 stuff apart from those warnings at the end. Now it would appear. It would appear that there is another way of solving this problem, and that is to go back from Debian 10 to Debian 9 maybe, and that might solve the problem. The question is, yeah, let's do that. So it's still going to require me to do the SCP. The key and the git fetch. Yeah, that's a small problem. Okay. So let's get rid of it. And then we'll edit the vagrant file. And instead of basing this on Debian 10, let's base it on Debian 9, see how we get on. It's possible that the kernel might still be up to date. However, we're going back to a box that was built in 2018, so we might get away with it, particularly since we're not doing an update, an upgrade. Of course, that might be an issue. Yes. Interesting. Okay, let's try. I don't remember, is it upgrade or update? Not entirely convinced this will help. But one can but hope. Wait. What's wrong? Oh, I thought it was destroyed. At least it seems to be happier. Right. Oh, lots of hurry up and wait. All of this is for about 4 lines of code. However, it's a good exercise, isn't it, mate? We do that quite a lot. Yeah. To go out. To go out in that horrible warm weather. What? Or have I stopped? Is that not acceptable? I'm going to have to stop soon to fit the walk in and cook some food. And I'm going to talk to Carol. I'm going to go for a short walk, I mean. Okay, given how nasty the weather is. Well, I say nasty, it's not nasty, it's just unpleasant. Ooh. What is it? 25. Not as bad as down in London. Oh, it's not going to get much better. What does it say for tomorrow? Oh no, it's going to get up to 27 tomorrow. Yeah. It's taking its time. It's starting this Python, isn't it, mate? Finally. Oof. Okay. What? Why am I being looked at like that? Okay, let's transfer that up. And clone this yet again. What have I forgotten this time? Keep your fingers crossed. Is that your final word on the matter? Oh, it's got to rebuild all those Docker machines. What are you doing? Got to rebuild all those Docker containers. Oh, Docker images. And then it's got a load of work to do to run the tests. And hopefully, work. What? So the next thing to do is we're going to, once we've got this working, we will create a branch on which to do the fix, and the branch will be based on the issue we're going to fix, which is 398, 389, something like that. Where are we? It's open and it is, there we go, key code I think was the word it found it on. Maybe not. Oh, I found it through pull request, didn't I? Yeah. Key code. Of course, it's possible that having gone through all of this, what I didn't do was check the original 398 issue. Because it could be that this has already been fixed. Issue 398. It's still open. Cool. Oh, okay. So the pull request is the issue. You dumb fuck. Oh, well. Anyway, right. Anyway, the long and the short of it, having just embarrassed myself, is that this is the issue, and we're going to submit a new pull request against that issue. So in order to do that, we're going to create a branch in our own repository in order to do the fix. Now, the fix is actually fairly trivial. It's in the salt backend. And all it is when this salt client command is run, okay, this out is gathering the output, and this will be done for each host. Yes, I know, it's time for us to go out. Come here. Now, what's happening is when this is returned here, what we need to do is, if the output is actually a raw string, a string for standard out, standard error, we need to add the keyword arguments in here. I think it's in there. So that the return value is, so the keyword standard out, standard error point to the actual strings. So that is in the base over here, and Where are you? Yeah, so here, okay, it's these keyword arguments that have to get passed back as part of this command result. And it's those two there. Okay, those two keywords there that need to be set. So what we need to do is check out standard out type, and if it's a string, then we add standard out equal standard out. Similarly with standard error, although it's reasonably safe to say they're both going to be the same type, but we might as well do them separately. So we create an object, and then we pass that object as the keyword args to be returned. So going back to here, so when we call result in here, we want to just add keyword args, and we will construct that keyword args based on the type of outstandard out and outstandard error. Look, magic's happening, Kenny, which means it must have built okay. How awesome is that? Good. So, the answer is we have to create this as a Debian 9 machine in order to go back to an older kernel, because the new kernel is screwing the pooch for us. Oh no! I know. How are we doing time-wise? Oh, it's getting a bit late, isn't it? We're going to have to call it a day once these tests are passing. Okay. And I think we're pretty safe now. I think we're going to have to call it a day and come back and do the rest either later this evening or tomorrow. Okay? Because we've got things to do now, haven't we? Like take little dogs for a walk. Okay? Yes or no? It's time for you to go out, isn't it? Okay? It's time for you to go out. Right, there's no point sitting here watching these tests, so we'll call that it for now, and I'll come back and finish it later.